This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
They found that Meta's failure was a direct cause, contributing factor to harming Kaylee.
A little frustrated, being sent mixed messages.
He needs to come home now.
Yes. Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Google guilty and Meta meets its match. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. Major social media companies Meta, parent of Instagram, and Google, which runs YouTube, today were found liable for addicting kids to their platforms. A jury in Los Angeles siding with the plaintiff, a young woman, in the landmark federal trial in which she accused the companies of designing those platforms to get her hooked early on, leading to later depression and suicidal thoughts into adulthood. The plaintiff's attorney, Mark Lanier.
They found that Meta's failure to operate their platform in a reasonably prudent fashion and to warn in a reasonably prudent fashion was a direct cause, substantial contributing factor to harming Kaylee.
CBS News tech contributor Ian Shure.
The jury decision effectively says to the tech industry that regardless of the intentions of their products, they are creating meaningful harm toward people. And the companies who made these products need to be held responsible.
Loyola Law School professor Lori Levinson.
I do expect down the road there will be an appeal. In fact, before there's ever an appeal, we still have to find out whether there are punitive damages and whether the judge thinks that there should be a new trial.
And late word is that there were $3 million worth of punitive damages, but again, both companies are exploring appeal options. Travelers at airports across the nation still dealing with long lines and disruptions. Senate Democrats have made another counteroffer to end the partial government shutdown over DHS funding. More than 480 TSA agents on the DHS payroll have now quit, and at multiple major U.S. airports, up to 50% of agents calling out sick.
A little frustrated, being sent mixed messages of get here early, but then when we get here, we can't do anything for a few more hours.
The government really has to start working as a government and working for us.
This is unbelievable.
President Trump says he may call up the National Guard for more help at the airports after deploying ICE agents to some of them already. Day 26 of the war in the Middle East, which has turned partly into a war of words this week between the U.S. and Iran over sharply contrasting plans for trying to end the fighting. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt says despite the apparent chasm between the two sides on terms, talks between Washington and Tehran have not hit a dead end.
Talks continue. They are productive, as the president said on Monday, and they continue to be.
More troops will reportedly be sent to the Middle East to support operations against Iran. According to multiple reports, troops with the U.S. Army's 82nd Airborne Division are going to be deployed to the region. About 1,500 soldiers from the division based in Fort Bragg expected to be deployed. Some Marines already headed that way. Meantime, President Trump will also travel to Beijing for a rescheduled China trip on May 14th to the 15th. That was delayed because of the war in Iran.
He needs to come home now.
Yes.
Today's show co-host Savannah Guthrie speaking with her NBC colleagues today about the days since her mother Nancy disappeared.
I wake up every night, in the middle of the night, every night, and in the darkness, I imagine her terror. Someone needs to do the right thing. We are in agony.
The full Today Show interview will air later this week. This is Guthrie's first interview since her mother disappeared from her Arizona home on February 1st. Still no suspects identified in that abduction. Well, it's been hot down there, and elsewhere a heat dome impacting millions in the Southwest, making its way to the southern plains now, as well as Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, all bracing for record highs this week. Parts of the Midwest could also be affected. Meantime, the heat wave nowhere near over in the Southwest. High temps expected again throughout the week. An American citizen held hostage in Afghanistan for more than a year back home. Dennis Coyle released by the Taliban yesterday, greeted by family members when he touched down in San Antonio today. Molly Long is his sister.
There's been so many people praying and supporting our family, and from the bottom of our hearts, we thank everybody for this day.
Next, we get some health news. Pfizer and French company Valvina are asking the Food and Drug Administration to approve a Lyme disease vaccine. It's not perfect. It's been more than 70% effective, though. Lyme disease is most commonly transmitted through tick bites. The CDC says some 476,000 Americans get that illness each year. Well, finally, a sports note for you. The NBA eyeing some expansion.
The league's Board of Governors voted to explore the possible addition of Seattle and Las Vegas. Seattle, of course, once had a team.
The Seattle Supersonics have won the
That was their only title in 1979. The Sonics moved to Oklahoma City in 2008 and became the Thunder. Las Vegas has become a booming sports town with the NFL's Raiders and the NHL's Golden Knights. Baseball's former Oakland A's are scheduled to move to Vegas in 2028.
CBS's Michael Wallace. I guess no hope for Buffalo ever getting the Braves back. All right, still to come here on the 5 o'clock report. We'll have a quick recap of some of our top regional stories for you, as well as highlights from today's Inside Out feature. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. With a week until the deadline, lawmakers and Governor Kathy Hochul still trying to reach a budget agreement. An update from Family Life's Sarah Harnish.
Yeah, the chances of this year's New York State budget coming in on time appear shaky because the governor and legislature remain divided on several key issues, such as changes to New York's energy and emissions mandates, combating car insurance costs and fraud, plus protest buffer zones around houses of worship. If they fail to get a new state budget approved by April 1st, a short-term funding plan would be needed to keep the state running, similar to what they did when last year's budget came in late. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Thank you very much, Sarah. The Pennsylvania House has passed a bill to raise the minimum wage in the Keystone State from $7.25 an hour to $11 an hour starting January 1st. After that, it would go up to $13 an hour in 2028, $15 an hour in 2029. However, that measure is unlikely to go anywhere in the Republican-controlled Senate. A proposal in the works in the New York State Capitol that would provide a constitutional right to nutritious food. It would make the right to good food a state amendment. 1 in 9 New Yorkers don't have enough food. Senate Agriculture Committee Chair Michelle Hinchey says a constitutional right to nutritious food would also benefit farmers.
Our farms are about a $6 billion industry across New York. If we can make sure we're expanding markets for our farmers and opening more markets locally in the state, again, we keep those tax dollars circular and we really build a robust economy that puts our small family businesses first while also putting the needs of New Yorkers first.
Approving a constitutional amendment is not easy, though. It requires approval by 2 consecutive state legislatures, followed by a majority vote in a statewide referendum. New York Democrats also calling for billions in new funding to spruce up SUNY and CUNY schools. Assemblyman Chris Burdick leading the charge there.
We have among the finest public higher education system in the country. So let's not let the sterling reputation of SUNY and CUNY be tarnished. We're calling on the governor to work with the legislature for a strong multi-year capital program for each of these systems.
Burdick is pushing for a multi-year capital improvement project to address crumbling infrastructure. He says 50% of the buildings in the SUNY and CUNY systems are 50 years old or older. And some lessons in economics on a lower school level. Buffalo Public Schools have halted extra fund spending to address a projected budget deficit. Officials say the current deficit is around $78 million there. The goal is to reduce it to $60 million for next year. The shortfall stems partly from expanded staffing and programs funded by federal COVID-19 relief money. School closures are being entertained as leaders aim to cut costs and avoid relying on reserves. And the school district in Lancaster, PA, considering furloughing over 100 employees. The school board there voting unanimously last night in favor of a resolution allowing them to furlough 109 staff members. That to close a nearly $10 million budget deficit there. The school district has said that deficit was caused by overspending and an accounting error. All right, up next, highlights from today's Inside Out feature as our Martha Manikas Foster speaks with writer and Gospel Coalition editor Sarah Ekoff-Silistra about her recent article entitled How to Fight for Life When Abortions Are Invisible.
Sarah, we've had the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision. sending abortions back to the states. And we've had a host of new state laws, but they have not stopped the increase in abortions in the United States. What do you understand is going on?
This is so interesting to me because we can look and tell that the number of abortions overall has gone up, but it doesn't mean that it was connected to Dobbs really at all, because it started going up 4 years before Dobbs. Starting in 2018, we started to see this decline in abortions, which had been going down pretty steadily since the 90s. Almost entirely straight down, began to pop back up for the first time in decades. So we think there's a couple different things that are happening here. One clue for us was to look worldwide. What's going on in all these different countries at the same time? And the thing that they have in common is the abortion pill. And you might remember it as RU486. Right. We called it the morning after pill. And this is a drug that blocks the body's natural production of progesterone. So if you are pregnant, it will block that. And then there's another pill, a second pill that you can take, and that contracts the uterus. Right. So first you're stopping and killing the baby, and then the second thing you are is expelling the baby. So by 2018, those pills had grown to account for around 40% of American abortions. And one place that I looked at said probably by 2030, it'll be almost 100% of abortions will be done with the pill.
I was circling that in your article. That was a stunning statistic to me.
Another thing that's coming alongside of this is during COVID, the FDA said it's okay to dispense these over the phone. It's only authorized for up to 10 weeks of gestation, but really the rules around it are very lax. It's also quite a bit cheaper. And I think it's going to come down even more because the FDA just approved a generic version of this in December.
So mifepristone, so RU486, and then more and more people using it, and it merges with telehealth, which increased during COVID, so that the combination of the two of those has accelerated the number of abortions. Is that correct?
That is correct. And you have a generation of kids who are just on their screens 7 hours a day, right? So you could just be in your house
ordering these pills. What would you say to me saying that followers of Jesus are in a unique position to save unborn lives? And if you think that we are, what do you see as a few non-political ways that Christians can make a positive impact for life in their communities, in their everyday lives?
Yeah, you know what? I think this situation just proves your point. Certainly, we should keep fighting legally for legal restrictions on abortion. And there are some things you can do, and they're doing them. But this just proves as long as there is sin in the human heart, babies are not safe in the womb. The safest way to protect a child in the womb is to change hearts. And of course, only the gospel can do that. Only Jesus can change your heart. One thing that's so interesting, Martha, is that statistically, those who go to church regularly do not have different abortion statistics than those who don't.
I was also stunned by that.
Those people know that this is a baby made in the image of God, and yet the situations of their lives might be that they just feel that there's no way out, right? So they don't have a job, or they need to finish school, or they're getting pressure from their boyfriend, or like whatever the things are that feels like it's no way out. One thing that you can do is to be really clear when you talk about it from the pulpit. Now less than half of churchgoers, only 43% describe themselves as pro-life, which is down from 63% 2 years ago.
Do you think that it's not being talked about as much in our churches because of the Dobbs decision? Do you think that some churches, or church leadership specifically, feel like, well, that's a done deal?
I kind of do.
Okay.
Because that was such a clear rally point, right?
Right.
Highlights from today's Inside Out feature with Martha Manikas Foster. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Have you ever thought about living life in reverse? Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. You can't actually move backward through time, but you can live with the finish line clearly in view. Investor Warren Buffett once said, "Write your obituary and then figure out how to live up to it." That's a powerful exercise. Pause and ask yourself, how do I want to be remembered? As someone who followed Christ faithfully, a person marked by joy, a wise steward, one who gave freely of time, resources, and love to others? If that's the legacy you want, begin shaping it today. Ask the Lord to form those qualities in you, to make you faithful, joyful, wise, and generous in every season. Then live today and every day that follows with the end in mind. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Thank you, Rob. Finally at 5, it may barely be spring, but the boys of summer are back. Long-time New York Yankees fans may remember that vintage team theme from the 1970s. I grew up watching Bill White and Phil Rizzuto on cable TV. The 2026 version of the New York Yankees will begin their journey toward what they hope will be a 28th World Series tonight. The Bronx Bombers in the Golden State to take on the San Francisco Giants at Oracle Park. First pitch for the evening is set for 8:05 p.m. You have to have Netflix, though, to be able to see that game. And that's the world we live in for Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.